We're now at the Holyrood Park. A large park, just on the edge of the city centre, and very much in the city of Edinburgh. In the middle of the park is a couple of very stick figure as a park is seat. So our friends setting up are the seats. They aren't the seat people.
I saw that one nice car and then I realized
If anyone heading up on the seat, that park on the left, beyond the ice cream van, that reddish bar, that's the standard route up of the seat. Grab an ice cream, walk up there. Some people going up and down out the seat. They were asking earlier, an hour for a standard place to walk. And dynamic earth, neatly and aptly nestled below the Salisbury Crags, is geological layers. I'll show you. For example, on the left, we've got the 5 tectonic plates of Scotland. Geological Scotland. On the right, we've got Scottish rocks from different geological ages, with Pleistocene era and so if you walk up there, you'll get information about it. That's us. This is now stop number 4. It's our brave hardy souls heading up to there's an exhibition on this. It's up there at Mound. Of course, I think a few people joined us there at Dynamite. So we'd like to split them both and via downstairs. Just for 2 minutes to stops. We're going to go down here, get another one. Okay. The door to the Parliament building is just on the left hand side. Enrique Morales from Barcelona. He was the man who designed the Parliament buildings. And this was some unusual pictures for us to. Well, some video basically. Those shapes around the windows on the left, like number 7, crossing down all the windows. Any thoughts what they represent? Any ideas? Some people think they look like hair dryers or goat's heads. The Loch Ness Monster was guessed once. Yes. What they actually represent is curtains, propped open away from the windows, representing the openness and transparency of the Scottish people. Here on the way and that's the former royal residence, the castle, to the current royal residence, the palace, the turns from this to different things. Once you have settled the first piece of seats, the more things when we start to look at the party, we want to think to say we're not guaranteed to stop at number 10 unless you look at the which ones you can places to explore as well. So we're keeping gardens. Well, the next city station, and the country is still back century, the most of the flexible of the after the epic flooding of 1514. I said coming down to the palace, which had a treaty and royal wedding, 1501, 2, 3 around there. Yes, it is. Yes, that's fascinating. Next up is the ships. All of the ice castle, the ships. Or John Locke's house.
Right there on the right. See that wall going on?
Is it the child? There's your childhood on the left. It's what goes through, and that's where the transport in that moment journey. This is stop number 6. This town, High Street stop. And here, anyone in the USA, which I believe in about 1860, 100 years ago, of which they believe for a meeting, this actually is the face. Okay, we're not making it. When you go around the school, I'll come back every 10 minutes. Have a look for stuffed sheep. There's a stuffed sheep in there. Do you remember Dolly the sheep? We used 21 years ago. There's Bobby the pug. There's a small, in front of the pub is a life-size statue of a Skye Terrier dog. Unfortunately, from the bus we won't all really see it from our seats in the bus. It depends where you sat. It's ahead of us on the left as we go forward. When we turn the corner, Bobby would pass us on the right-hand side. I suppose I should have a chance to see Bobby at some point. Maybe have to come back later. But overall, I sat on his master's graveside for up to 14 years, the story goes. From Regent Ocean, he was there, looked up to felt by the people that were. And this is the story. Today, people come to the statue. And that's what it is. Edinburgh University is it's set around the city. It's not just in one place. It graduates from the children graduate. And formerly you would have studied medicine. They still do, but not from this building or not the former medical school. So through that archway, would have walked James Young Simpson, pioneering use of chloroform to use this Joseph Lister, antiseptics, Arthur Penny Doyle for the registrants and Charlotte Baines, he was a doctor, both as a doctor. Facing his character of Sherlock Holmes, he was particularly Joseph Bennett. There was very exactly precisely real life. When you're reading Sherlock Holmes, think Edinburgh. Passing Bobby will be not blatantly right, but upstairs it would be difficult to see it, but it is just not. Greyfriars Bobby the pub, despite all the great tales of Greyfriars Bobby the dog, it's not dog friendly. Some pubs out there, but the local pubs not to be. Passing down London Making Road, this street was, before George Road Bridge came on, covers of the lot, this was the main street for your goods from the south. Into Grassmarket, down winding down street, then up an even narrower, windier street to the side from the Mound, which is very much thinking of the city. So our next stop is Grassmarket. And we'll look for something like that. Just around the corner at the top left is Grassmarket. Just at the we'll stop around the corner and then we'll be to say. This is Grassmarket. Stop in just about. Grassmarket.
And the West Port, or the West Gate, stood here. So once we go through this little junction here, we're once more outside of the city walls. This mess of the market, this cat cafe over on our right, if you like, cats. We're there for a cup of tea and the owner's cats and wander around between your feet and your ankles, going up the street. At one time there was a street of bootmakers, shoemakers and tanneries. Shoemakers, the most prosperous of tradespeople. now a street with some little second hand.
With warping, you will have your first of
Edinburgh takes its name from the Gaelic language, this language that's used in parts of northwest Scotland. Dunedin, words meaning port, on a hill. And when we turn the corner here, we've got Edinburgh Castle right up above us. The barracks at the castle are what you see straight ahead, completed in 1890, but the city's oldest building is up here, a 12th century chapel. St Margaret's, the Crown Jewels of Scotland are on display, National War Memorial, the National War Museum, all up at Edinburgh Castle. Now nobody for this next stop upstairs? If you're heading to the castle from our next stop, stop number 10, and you don't have a statue in front of it, the philosopher David Hume, who lived both in Edinburgh's old and new towns. Straight ahead of us, the Green Brown building is now the Scottish headquarters of the Lloyds Banking Group. It's the old Bank of Scotland head office. Bank of Scotland founded in 1695 by an Englishman. The Bank of England founded the year before by a Scotsman. And at the foot of this street, called the Mound, is stop number 11, down near Princess Street by the floral clock. If anybody would like the next stop. 1750, so many trees were copied or given away and they were taken away with the road. And within 100 years, they were opened up as more form of public lands. Now, anybody upstairs for this, or anybody for this stop? No, nobody for this stop. So James Craig submitted what was a successful plan for this residential routine. Three main streets. Princess Street, which is the one just ahead of us, which is the one with the least original architecture left. George Street, the central street of the new town, and Queen Street. Old Town Hill. Building of the new town began in 1767, so 250 years old this year. Building began along to the east, so along to our right. But then the whole project was built in circles. Straight ahead of us, Edinburgh's main river, the River Force. The land on the other side, the Kingdom of Crown. And if you go to visit the Royal York Britannia, the ship that the Queen travelled on, it's berthed just at Ocean Terminal, just along from Edinburgh's port of Leith. Number 22 bus goes there from the city centre every few minutes, or the Majestic tour bus. You could get a ticket for any of the tour buses. It's the blue Majestic tour bus that goes there. So it's a stop for the Georgian House, which is a beautiful National Trust property. You can go into it and get an idea of life in this new town. There is a charge, unless you're a member of the Trust, but it's a marvellous and elegant building to go in and see. And Charlotte Square, which is just up the hill from us here, is a least altered part of the original new town. So if anybody would like stop number 12, just let, yep, if you could stop at stop number 12. Alexander Graham Bell, inventor of the telephone, born in the first house on the right-hand side of the street straight ahead of us. All of the houses around the square designed by Robert Adam.
The residence of the First Minister of Scotland. It's a little bit like Scotland's equivalent of 10 Downing Street, where the Prime Minister lives down in London. That's where our First Minister is meant to have her official residence, but she's actually not there very often. She has her own house she usually stays in a bit more often. Now, a typical Georgian townhouse can be recognised by its three main stories, and then attics at the very top for the children's nurseries, and the basement levels are for the kitchens and the servants' quarters. If you do look at some of the buildings around here, if you're able to see the basement levels, you might notice that the stonework is a lot rougher, a lot more plain, because the architects didn't bother making them any fancier. It's just a waste of time, because they said it was just for the servants. It's a little bit of a shame. these three main stories where the main families would have lived. So it was the wealthiest people to see their next new houses. But what people would also do, rather than hosting dinner parties, is they would also let people just walk into their house and view it, even uninvited. So the tradition became, the tradition was that you would walk around the streets of the new town, see a house that you wanted to pop into, you maybe haven't visited before, you could just walk in, the servants would be on standby with snacks and drinks, also to make sure you weren't going to steal anything. And the family you were in, you could go and socialise with them, you weren't in. You'd just be taken on a tour of the house. It would also give you able to show off luxury. Now, 1/10 of the new town was dedicated to green, open spaces. Edinburgh used to suffer a lot by Robert Rowan Anderson. It's free admission, open from 10 till 5, so it was great to have the name show as well. So if you want to put a face to some of the famous names that we mention on these tours. Now, a lot of the buildings of the new town are made of a bright golden yellow sandstone colour. It is actually possible to clean some of the buildings off. It does take a lot of time, a lot of effort, but it is actually possible to clean some of the buildings. So as we round the corner, there is actually going to be quite a good example of a building that has some there. This is quite a good area to be in. Okay, so just coming up on the left-hand side, there's just two tiny buildings. The factory bricks on top, the local bricks on the bottom. Those bottom bricks, the gold ones, are what all of the buildings around here would have looked like initially. So all of them would have been that bright, gorgeous golden yellow colour, which is quite fitting because the new town was built during the Scottish Age of Enlightenment in the 18th and 19th centuries. So they had a bright new town to reflect all the bright minds of Edinburgh. Now it's stop 13. Fortunately, there's a couple of folks at stop 13. The Scottish Age of Enlightenment, that's when some of the greatest minds in the world were living in Edinburgh. So philosophers, architects, writers, scientists. This is stop 13. Because of all these Greek temples, so you see all those columns around quite a lot of the new town. Just on the left and right hand sides is Rose Street. This was a service street, so the servants of the new town would access the houses through Rose Street. There's another one at the other side of the new town called Thistle Street. It's named after the national flower of England, the rose, and the national flower of Scotland. There's also a couple of other reasons that Edinburgh smelt so bad in the past. The biggest reason, physically the biggest reason, is because the area just up ahead where the art gallery and the Princess Street Gardens now are, that was once a big rock called the Noir Rock. So the valley was flooded intentionally in the 15th century. And at first the water was lovely, but very quickly the people of the old town realised that they could just dump anything and everything into the water and get rid of it. So it actually very quickly became a big open sewer. The gases rising off it were so the city. So Edinburgh, it's one city and two towns. Now up there on the right hand side there's these white buildings with the red paint, which are known as Ramsay Gardens. These were built in the late 19th century. They were originally meant to be student accommodation, and they were developed by a man called Sir Patrick Geddes, who lived here in the late 19th, early 20th century. We actually have to thank Sir Patrick Geddes for the old town that we have in Edinburgh. The old town, a lot of the buildings are from sort of medieval period, and in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, they were starting to collapse.